Welcome, I'm Dave Klein, and this is the Cymulate Cybersecurity Newscast. A new vulnerability was announced this week. Text4Shell is a vulnerability in an Apache Common Text library that was discovered by Alvaro Munoz and talked about in his blog post. We'll put a link to that blog post in the notes section of the video. So what is this vulnerability? It rates on 9.8 on the CVSS scale. That's pretty high. Why? Remote code executable. No authentication required. So it's very easy to do. In doing a showdown search of Apache instances that are internet facing, there are over 25 million of them. So the big question everyone has is, how dangerous is this? Well, first we saw some real criminal activity. A company called WordFence, who protects WordPress sites, found that over their 4 million users, that there were attackers actively using this exploit to try to take advantage of their customers. And we'll put a link to that blog post in the notes section of the video as well. And so people get concerned. They say, is this a lot like Log4Shell that came out earlier this year? The answer is no. So Log4Shell, in that case, every Apache instance was vulnerable. In this case, there are 3 caveats, and you must be running the Apache Common Text library, of course, to start with. The susceptible versions are 1.5 to 1.9, because there is a newer one called 1.10, which is not vulnerable. So 1.5 to 1.9 is vulnerable. And then you must be not only using this library, but parsing user-controlled input and string substitution. So as people enter forms on your website or something like that, you're taking that data and you're substituting data as it comes in. Let's say I send Pennsylvania, you substitute it for PA, that kind of thing, right? So you're making some string substitutions and you're not sanitizing the data after it's substituted, right? So these are the 3 things that have to be in place. 1.5 to 1.9, doing string substitution and not sanitizing after you bring that data in. And then you're vulnerable. So it's a subset of Apache servers that are susceptible. So again, I'll put a link to the blog post of the Alvaro Munoz as well as the one from WordFence. But what else can we do here? So at Cymulate, we do continuous security, posture, validation, and management. And in our package, we have written an advanced scenario module so you can test your environment to find all your Apache services and see whether or not they are vulnerable or not. So I'll put a link to my blog post on that, as well as the Cymulate Tech Bulletin. Again, at Cymulate we've created, and this is what we do all the time, by the way, is when an attack occurs or when a vulnerability is announced, we make sure that in our solution we have advanced scenarios or in immediate threats, both different places where we can test and make sure that you're going to be okay. Black X cybercrime group based out of Nigeria and the world was taken down this week by Interpol. The Department of Justice had charged them with crimes earlier in the year, as well as Interpol, for a number of things, mostly romance scams, going out there and catfishing people into giving them tons of money. In the real world, they also were known for human trafficking and drug trafficking and money laundering, so a real nasty group. And again, as usual with these cybercrime groups, they're all over the world. So they did an orchestrated raid in 14 different countries to get them, about 75 individuals. And this is on top of 2 people they also grabbed in September in South Africa. They were also able to compensate luxury cars, homes, cash, a lot of cell phones and tech they were using. And on top of that, they were even able to intercept crypto wallets to get back 1.2 million euros of victims' money. Way to go, Interpol. This Thursday, October 27th at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time, I will be on the Simply Cyber broadcast with one of my favorite friends, Gerald Auger. The topic's going to be secrets your parents never told you about continuous threat exposure management. So what are we talking about? It'll be a great time, and we're talking about the fact that today, annual pen testing once a year is not enough. The idea of simply taking out Kali Linux or Metasploit to test your environment isn't enough, that you need to be able to do things in a continuous fashion to offensively test your environment to make sure all the security controls are optimized and doing their best jobs and that all the misconfigurations and vulnerabilities are gone. Join us. I'll put a link in the notes section of the video so you can join that broadcast. I'm looking forward to it. I hope you'll be there. And that's been the Cymulate Cybersecurity Newscast for the week. I'm Dave Klein. Have a great week.